Hi everybody and welcome to Painting for Pleasure. I'm your host Tony Visco, and what are we going to do today? We're going to do a little scene from the southern area of our great country. So what we want to do is let me show you what I'm thinking about doing here. Here's the color shot right here. And if I leave that about like that, maybe I can zoom it down. I'm sorry, wrong way. We'll just slowly zoom in for you. Okay, and put it right in the center over here. And we got some of these beautiful pine sort of brush, bushes, trees, whatever they are. I'm not too sure what they are. This was in one of the islands, so maybe down in St. Thomas, St. Croix. I can't remember exactly where it was, but I took it a long time ago. Anyway, we're gonna do something like this. A little bit of storm clouds in here, but should be interesting. I don't think I'm going to paint it exactly by the way this is, because this is all green and all green, and I'm not crazy about that. So I may change it up a bit. Anyway, let's take a look at a larger piece here. Here's what I did blowing it up. Oh, let's go back to where we were in this. Let's get it. Let's get this so that we go back a little bit. All right, so we're back here. All right, so that's just about the size that it's going to be, and it's in my black and white area. Put this up over here, and I've got this little 4x6 photo that it's tough to go by, but we'll deal with it. Anyway, what I'm going to do first of all is we're going to wet the paper. By the way, just so that you're aware of what I've done with this is just roughly outlined. Here's a sketch. This is sort of roughly a sketch that I did of what I want to do. This is going to be sort of a dark area. This is going to be light area. This is going to be all sand. My sky is going to be up over in this area here, a little bit of tonal value there. So this will be a little bit on the dark side, light side, mid values. That's the plan. Let's see what happens. Always good to do this stuff. So let's take I'm going to take my wide flat brush, and we're going to end up putting the sky in. Now I'm going to go right over some of this stuff here because I'm going to paint. We're going to paint right on top of it. Okay, so we'll just wet this up with the sky. And this is one of those papers where I think I'm going to have to put, doesn't look like it's going to be too bad, but let me put some tape on the bottom just to hold this down so it's somewhat flat. Because ultimately what will happen is it'll buckle up. Unless I wet both sides. If I wet both sides, then probably won't do that. But given that this is my sky, we're going to get a little bit of cerulean blue. I'm going to come in here with cerulean blue. Now, what I'm doing is, this is all wet, and I'm just taking a bit of cerulean blue. All of this stuff over here has been on my palette for a while. I'm going to probably use this in the floral area for all of the trees, but right now I just want to get a little bit of cerulean blue. So you see how moist and wet this is? This is my sky. I'm going to put this in back here, okay? Lighter at the bottom, a little bit darker at the top, and I'm going to gray the top a bit, all right? Because what did we say? Remember we said it was a little bit on the ominous side, sort of. All right, so see what I just did? Let me take this over, and so you can see this. So I used my cerulean blue right here, nice and clean, and then I took a little bit of water and grabbed a lot of this stuff that was on my palette. This is nothing more than a mixture. This mixture is a mixture of my burnt sienna, some of my blues, cobalt blue, maybe French ultramarine blue, some of the maybe yellow ochre, but it was just a mixture of stuff that was on my palette, and I'd probably used it for my last painting. So with this, I get a little bit of change now, right? I get a little bit of this ominous sort of gray stuff that's going on. And like a lot of the stuff on the islands, it gets a little bit deeper in the lower part of sometimes the sky gets a little bit deeper. All right, so we'll just do a little bit of something like that. Let me just bring this out here because, all right, and let that settle up a little bit. It'll sort of wick down. Now, what I need to do here is to come in and clean my brush up a bit while that's settling. And I'm going to wash out my palette because I need some nice areas of tonal value, because what we're going to do is put some of that tonal value in here. All right, so we're going to use some yellow ochre. We're going to use some of my my greens, but the greens I'm going to mix are going to be evergreen type greens. That is to say, they're going to be more olive green when I put that stuff in. So I'm going to clean up my palette. So I have a white base. That is to say, I'm working with clean paint, and I want to take and I want to spray. I can find my spray bottle. Okay, where is my spray bottle? Let's find that. I don't want you to hang around. Hang on. Now what I did is I just took my spray bottle, which you can see here, the heavy spray bottle, and I cleaned my palette. Right? And what I did is I just wet sprayed my paint so that it could soften some of this up, because the paints have been sitting here for a while. They, like all things, they harden up a bit. Add a little bit of spray there too. Okay, so we have these large areas that we're going to have to deal with, and I'm going to use a bigger brush. I'm going to use a bigger round brush here to do this with. So ooh, wow. Okay, so all right, so what I'm doing right now, what I did right now is I'm just taking a little bit of tissue and just wiping some of this very lightly off to give it a little bit of a haze. I'm going to make this all dark in here anyway, and I'm going to be using this brush to do that with. So, well, let me just double check something. What I wanted to do is I wanted to check this, see what's going to happen is that this is buckling up a little bit. I'm going to end up having to do some streaking in here. That is to say, if you take a look at the original shots that I did, let's take a look at what this is. I've got a lot of areas where I have a leafy structure that's moving out in that area. So we're going to end up coming up here, and it's a little bit on the damp side. And we're going to end up starting to pick that up a little bit, take a little bit of my yellow ochre and mix it with my blue. All right, so we're going to get this sort of olive green. Here's my cerulean blue, my yellow ochre. So we're going to start to get some of this off value a little bit more. And we're going to start to bring in some of this where all this leafy structure is going to come into play here. Okay. We have leafy structure that's going to come in to play in these areas. Maybe a little bit more yellow ochre. Now, notice what I'm doing is I'm basically moving my brush. I'm taking my yellow ochre and my blue, and I'm moving my brush in the direction of the fronds, or the leafy structure that's here. This all has a tendency to sort of, let me just show you on this one here. The tendency is to move it. You see that? It's how it breaks, it goes out. So I'm sort of just moving my brush in that direction of the fronds that are on that. And that's basically what we're doing, is we're trying to create this sort of, make sure we create this illusion of this plant. Some of this is going to be very dark, but we're going to start off a little bit light. And we want to make sure that we have a lot going for us in terms of the value to in this. So I'm going to use a little bit of my cobalt blue now, mixed with my burnt sienna and yellow ochre. So we're going to come in here and make it a little bit darker. You see this? Cobalt blue, yellow ochre, getting it a little bit darker, more grayish. Okay. Some nice dark areas. Needle-like structures. Probably make some of these even darker. Alright, same thing over here. We got this sort of stuff's going on, nice and dark. Okay, so we're starting to build my structure, my leafy structure over here. Wetting my brush now, all right, because we're going to add some, we want to add some water down in here in this area. We want to add some water, okay? And I'm going to have to put this in, and then I'm going to have to go over that with a dark area. But essentially the same thing is going to happen over here, where I'm going to end up adding some water. And I'm going to make my leafy structure in here too as well. Okay? So now that that's done, that's my base. I'm coming in here now. This is all going to be wet into wet. I want to come in here and I want to do a walkway where the ramps are in the boat. So let's just come over here before. Now, my boat is right down here, so let's just get the boat. Let's just get the boat in here first of all. All right. So the boat is going to be sort of just a little bit of a cool cobalt. I'm not wetting this. I'm going to do this wet and dry. Right in here. Wet on dry. Now I'm just going to come down here because this is all going to be darker anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. Okay. Now I'm going to wet it a bit more. I need a hard line. I actually need a hard line right in this area here, because that's the hull of the boat. Okay. And what's going to end up happening is that I'm going to come over here, and this is where this is, and this is all going to turn a little bit greener in this area here, because that's going to come out. And I'll put my pilings in here. I got some dark spots that where the window's going to be. Those windows in the boats are going to be in that dark spot. I also have something that's out here, don't I? So we're sort of jumping around a bit, but to give you an idea, right now I've got this landmass that's out, way out off the tip here. Okay. And we're going to just put some of that in there right now. And I'm going to use I'm going to come over here and we're just going to do this. And this is my land, way off in a distance. Well, way off in a distance, but you know, somewhere out there, right? Okay, that's going to be water. That'll be blue water. But I'm not going to do anything with that right now. I just want to let that set for a bit. Okay. And then we're going to end up painting that with, I'm going to paint that blue water, but I need that to dry first. So in the meantime, I'm going to come back down here and continue to work in some of these areas down here. And this is just water. I'm just taking water on my brush right now. Clear water. This is sort of a mixed bag. So we're just... And we're going to come down in, all in this area here. This is all going to be sand. Alright? So this is all going to be sand. And we'll wet it all. All of this stuff's going to be wet. And my sand is going to be mixture of Naples yellow and upper rose. Okay, a little bit of Naples yellow and upper rose. Now, generally speaking, this area is white sand. I mean, the islands, it just, you know, it really is. It's very, very light whitey sand. But I want to put in a little bit more interesting values. Interesting color, I should say. Make it a little bit brighter in those areas here. And some of this area, I'm going to put some greenery down here as well. Okay, so I'm going to keep that nice and light. And let's get some I'm going right over my light area. I'm going to paint this all so it doesn't make any difference. This is all going to be blue. A little light area here. We'll make this come in here. That's going to make this darker anyway. So that's going to be my water. How dark is dark? Okay, so we want to get burnt sienna, French ultramarine blue and burnt sienna combined. I'm going to do a nice dark here. This is, okay, so see, this is the dark that I'm doing for my windows in my boat. Alright, so I don't want to put my head in here, so I'm going to move back. Let's just, I'll tell you what I'll do. The idea is to keep my head out of this. I've had some instances where I've had a really strong issue. I was putting my head in everything. And I'm looking at this thing, and there's a couple of real darks down there. Some darks on the pier. Just put some darks in there. We don't know exactly where they're going to be or what it's going to be, but we're just going to put those darks in. So I have, right now, have my water in here. That's the blue water in the background, right? This is going to be my boat hull. The actual hull tends to have a little bit more blue in this area down here, and it comes out a little darker down there. So we're going to end up doing that. And we're going to put some more stuff in here. Some more darks in here, some more of this wonderful looking foliage, that those palms that are down there. So we're going to have to let that set up a bit more, but we'll just keep going. So let's just come over here. We're going to make some of this a lot darker. You know, you're going to end up with a lot more darks in these areas here. And I don't want that to be so loose. It's a little bit on the too watery side. So we want a heavier pigment. Yep. All right, so this is more pigment than water. So I'm still working in this moist area here, right? This is all still damp. It's not wet. That's wet. This is damp. Still working in these areas here. We're taking into some of those. Because as you know, what ends up happening with a lot of the palm leaves and so forth like that is they tend to brown out in a lot of areas. So what we're doing is we're just creating some interest in some of these areas. A little bit more green. A little bit more green. So let's get some blue. And we'll get some new Gambosian here. Wet. Take the water out of my brush. Okay. Whoops, sorry. What I want to do is I'm going to come in here with some Naples yellow. Vary this up a bit. Change that up a bit. Okie doke. Now we're going to get into some really darks, but heavier pigment. More pigment than water. Remember, we're making leaves or palm fronds. So we're making palm fronds. This is just a gathering of those things, just a big gathering of those heavy fronds, heavy palm. So at this point, what we're going to do, this is we're going to end up, I'm going to put more dark in here now. But before I do that, I'm going to take a thin brush, my little scrub brush here, and I'm going to come over here with a little bit of water. And because I want to whiten this a little bit right there. Usually what ends up happening, now I'm using this brush here, but usually I can do this with a thinner flat brush to create a thin line, a nice thin light line. All right, so that helps to do you see what I'm talking about? This is just an exercise. It's not necessarily done right now because I'm going to put a lot more darks in here, but I want to show you that you can create light areas within that dark. If you have a dark area that's too, let's say this is too much looking too much like a shape that's too dark, it's a blobbish shape, you want to create a little bit of a light see-through. See, so I'm just taking and I'm wisping a little bit of water, just a little bit of water to bring that up. Okay, now I gotta put some more darks in here, so I'm not doing that right now, but I wanted to just show you that that's part of a plus that you can really work. You can do it all in here too, because for instance, if this is, see if that's too dark or you too much of a shape without any structure, that is leaf structure, you can sort of come in here and lift out some lights. So that's all gonna take place. See right here, for instance. See what light I can bring that back. Now some of this stuff can be brought back to almost the white of the paper. If I want to create, for instance, right in here, I want to create some leafy structure, palm, bending. So let's just bring this over here like this, for instance, and then bring it down. All right, so this is going to be painting. You put your negative shape down first, or your dark shape down first, and then you can create some of this light leafy structure by just by lifting. Therefore, you don't need, what's nice about it is you don't need to use white paint. So if you're a purist, and you want to stay a purist, that is to say, if you don't want to use white, opaque paint in your watercolor, you can create your light areas by just what I'm doing. Right, so that gives you that feeling of light. Now I'll put some darks in there too, and it'll create some interesting stuff. So it's all about illusion. You know what this is? It's all about characteristic shapes. Characteristic shapes. So characteristic shapes. Okay, so this is an interesting shape right here. Maybe I want to use it. Maybe I want to make it a little bit lighter. So again, depending on what we want to do. Let me just. So I use this big fat. This is what is it? 14. Yeah. This is a 14 Volkansky brush that I used in here, and I'm basically just using the point as an example. We're coming up here, taking the water out of the brush, and we're just coming in here and using the point. Alright, and I want to make that darker. We want to make this darker in here, darker in here. I'm going to make some of these really dark. Darker and greener, so it's going to be a dark blue. Make it greener, so we're going to add new gamboge to my dark blue, which is my French ultramarine blue. And again, this is a mixture, right? What we're doing is we're creating some interesting shapes that are characteristics shapes of these beautiful palm bushes that are down in the Caribbean and in areas like that. Right? And I'm following the guidelines, but I'm not painting this exactly. What I'm giving you is a design element. I'm not painting it exactly like the image that I'm following. I'm using my reference material. What I'm doing is I'm designing as I'm going through this process. Okay. Do we got it? Do we have it? To get that idea here, let's just do it up here too. Maybe we want to make it greener. Let's add some really. We got this area down here, maybe a little bit. Add some greens in here, and these plants, they tend to do this. They tend to roll over and curl. So if we can create the illusion, this whole thing is an illusion. We create the feeling, the general feeling of this type of plant, and that's what we want to do. And I'm going to end up doing some more over here, but I want to get this in first. Now, over here, what we have is ground cover. Okay. All right, so now we've got that. We've got a tie to this one right here. And what we're going to do is paint with a thinner brush now. I'm going to come over here and get a smaller brush. And we'll paint the rest of this. So we have some gray. All right, so I'm going to have to do something down here now. And I did. Okay, anyway, let's just go back over here. And as I look at this, let's get, there's my big piece here. I've got rails that are going out here. Got rocks in the background over here too, actually. Well, I'm not sure I'm gonna, yeah, let's just put, maybe we'll put a few of those in. We'll just give it a little bit of dark. Some of that in there, and basically what's going to happen is this is going to be filled with mid values in here, and this is going to be filled with mid values in here, also in here. Okay. We have our boat, and we have a rub rail on this boat. This is the white side up here, but there's always a rub rail over here in this boat. All right, and pilings. Pilings. This is just a dock. All right. The boat's hidden back here. Okay, we're going to end up adding my blues. And we'll bring this piling down here, that piling over there, and we're going to probably have one in here somewhere. Okay. All right, so a little something on that. So we can finish this up now by adding a few more little small things here, maybe the landmass out here a little bit. Change that up a bit. Add some more stuff in here. Gonna add a lot more in here too. The thing I'm not nuts about here. This is an issue that I have with everybody. I've talked to you guys about it too. Is that this tends to be squared up, which I don't like. So we're going to end up hiding some of this, and I'm going to end up bringing some more of this stuff in here. So it doesn't look as squared. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the type of plant it is. Little strokes. Now this is my leafy strokes. Over here, and we're going to end up bringing it down. Okay. This is going to go right off the page here, so we're just going to bring that over there. So let me take a look at that now. Okay, so I got all of this stuff going over here. You can't make out anything over here, not supposed to really. Okay, so let's do this. It looks like I caused a little bit of an issue over here with some of my brush strokes down here, so I'm going to try to fix that up. I'm going to try to fix some of this stuff up in here too. Get a little bit more definition when it dries. But if I wet it first, if I take this brush and I come in here and I just sort of take my and I wet this area, what I'm going to do is come in here and maybe give it a little bit of strong yellow ochre in here, along with the I'm going to do the same thing over here. And we'll just do a little bit of that in here. Okay. A little bit of crap. What I'm doing is I'm just picking up now just the stuff on my palette here. Okay, and just coming in and making some of this a little bit more interesting, a little darker. All right, in there. And in here. We'll cloud that up a little bit. Good. I like that. Okay. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to have to let this totally dry, because once it's dry, then I can go back with my dry brush strokes and do some dry brush work to finish this up. What I'm doing now is just putting in a little bit of on the sand. Some dark spots. My dark lines, remember when I said I brought some light lines in here. I want some dark areas too. This is nothing more than, this is all dry now. I'm taking burnt sienna and my cobalt, my French ultramarine blue, making some real good darks. And adding accent darks here and there to keep that general feeling of that I was working with here. And like all sand, there's always dark spots in this stuff. When that grass stuff comes up, there's debris. It's taking place here and there. Just helps to build the impression I want to create. And this is that, I'm sorry, am I heading away? Let me just get this thing. And we're going to end up doing a nice this. All right. I think that's it. I think we did enough. No water. Okay, that's it. So, I'm your host, Tony Visco. This is Painting for Pleasure. Again, an illusion. Remember to, when you're doing something like this, to make your brush strokes in the shape that you are looking to make sure you have. This is the shape right here. Okay, the shape is going out. All right. Now, do it a little bit darker blue, so I'm going to fix that right now. I don't want it really all that blue, but make it a little bit darker. See what I'm talking about? Out. Out. Okay, my friends. thank you for being with me. You can catch me on, check my website out. It's www.panthonyvisco.com, and you can. I got a bunch of this stuff up on YouTube, so there's a lot of it that's public. Take a look at it at P. Anthony Visco on YouTube. So a lot of fun. But always remember, don't get frustrated. This is just all about painting for pleasure, not misery. Painting for pleasure. Let's have fun doing this stuff. Okay, that's it. Bye-bye.